Hi Ganga, Arpit this side. Good, good. Can we talk? Actually, I just realized that I had a session today at 2 p.m. and I was going live, and I later realized that the link which is mentioned in the sheet that is a private session, so that has not been made public, right? The sheet is not updated, and in fact, only one link I could see for 18th under my name, Arpit Jain, and yeah, it shows me it's a private link. Yeah, I mean, let me just check quickly. Hey guys, am I audible and visible? I'm really sorry, there were some technical issues. So we were resolving that. Please let me know if I'm both audible and visible. Hello Samrat, thank you for joining in. Apologies for being a bit late here. So we were having some technical issues. The video was not made public, so it was still private. I hope I'm audible and visible as well. Samrat, if you can just say a quick yes or no in the chat. Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. Cool. Okay. So let's start. And again, apologies for being a bit late here. Okay. So I'm just gonna quickly introduce myself, and meanwhile I'll let people join in. So guys, if you have any questions from anywhere, so for whatever things we have discussed so far, so we have discussed about functions, lambda functions, and we were talking about group bys, and we did discuss about pandas as well a lot, right? So any questions from anywhere, do feel free to ping me on the chat. So I'm trying to monitor the chat the best I can, but still, if I do miss out on something, do again ping me. You know? So right, so let me just quickly introduce myself again, guys. As you know, my name is Arpit Jain, and I'm a senior data scientist myself. I have almost 9 years of industry experience. I'm a motivational speaker too. So from the industry experience perspective, I've been into multiple domains. So I was part of finance sector earlier, then I was into cloud domain, then I was in manufacturing, automobile sector, and right now I'm in telecommunications. So I've seen different industry, and that's the beauty of being into data science, to be honest, because it kinds of give you that immunity towards domain. But again, I do not mean to say that domain is of no importance. Definitely not. So domain is important, but it's of secondary importance in data science field. Okay, so because you're working on data, being a data science guy, and data is everywhere, right? So that's the kind of immunity you have. So you can work in any domain, but again, if you have a particular domain knowledge, you'll be preferred. You'll be having an added advantage there. So nothing more than that. Cool. And I'm a motivational speaker too, guys. So, so if you have any questions regarding your career or any suggestions or anything which you want to talk about, you can always do that. So, I'll be more interested to take care of that. Subjects as part of our discussion, we'll be doing Python, SQL, and PySpark. So, Python we have already started a month and a half ago. So, today we're going to be talking about NumPy. So, NumPy is again one of the things which we generally use. So, one of the things which is important. So it's more towards my data science part. So in data science, we have a number of things which we generally take care of, right? So NumPy is again one of the libraries which is generally used. And along with that, we have a lot of other things as well. So we take care of that. So NumPy, we're gonna start. So we will be talking about NumPy right now today. And again, if anybody has any question from pandas and all, so we can discuss on that as well. Okay, so I have one question. Darshan says, "Sir, I'm placed in Cognizant and Capgemini. Which one should I join?" Okay, good question. But again, Darshan, if you can just tell me, quick question like what designation they have offered and what is your experience? I mean, how many years of experience you have? Is it your first job? And maybe if both the companies are giving you a similar package and all that. So maybe just a quick thing. So what is your designation? Which team? So something like that. So that's about it. Cool. So let's quickly start. Meanwhile, we are getting the question from Darshan, so we'll take care of that. So quick promotion, guys. So as you know, this is mandatory. So I'll quickly run you through this promotion pitch and we'll jump into the content, right? So Darshan, I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you once I finish this. Okay. So as you know, so Relevel has been introduced as a platform by Unacademy, right? So this is one of the tech hiring platforms which has been revealed by Unacademy, and this is a first tech hiring platform, guys, where you can get your dream job and how you can get that. So we'll be talking about that. Okay. So many a times the candidates do miss out on the opportunities, the great opportunities, I would say, due to multiple reasons. Potentially, like they feel that you don't have the right degree. So sometimes the degree also plays an important role. Having a degree from a tier A university always helps, always gives you an advantage, right? And also sometimes poor networking also leads to the not selection, or maybe the job which you don't, I mean, which you're looking for, the rejection step. Cool. And definitely your resume might not also stand out from the crowd. So basically there are 100 other applicants for the same job, you know that, right? So it's not necessary that whenever you're applying for the job, you get the shortlisting. So your resume is not getting shortlisted. So that could be one of the potential reasons for losing out on the great opportunities. And again, also many times we have heard that the people are applying for say 100, 200 odd jobs, and even then also they are not getting the calls. So calls itself is also a major issues, right? So one of the potential reasons where candidates do miss out on the great opportunities. And to tackle all of these major issues, Relevel has been introduced. Okay, it's in India's first tech hiring platform by Unacademy, which is actually helping the job seekers to get their dream jobs. Okay, and here the jobs are purely based on your skills and talent, nothing else. So you are not supposed to be dependent on any degree or any networking or sort of a thing. So it's purely on your skills and talent, okay, and nothing beyond that. So you have to be focused on your skills. So basically this platform is more of an assessment platform. Okay, so you have to choose the right portfolio based on your choice, on your area of interest. Okay, so right now there are three portfolios available: business development, front end development, and the back end development. There are multiple roles associated in this, right? So based on your things, you have to choose the things, choose a portfolio which you want to be part of, and then you have to take the assessment. Okay, so there are I think 5 rounds of assessment. Details you can get once you sign up. So objective is to get the best score you can out of this assessment. So you have to just focus on your skill and get the right score, the best score you can get. So that's about the platform. There are multiple benefits also associated with this Relevel testing platform. So I'll just brief out on a few of these. So there are tie-ups with the companies, over 50 plus companies, including the top startups and the unicorns as well, like ENY, Upgrad, Cred, Razorpay, Urban Company, and many more, right? So they are hiring directly from the Relevel platform. So you are, again, based on your Relevel score, so the assessment score, they will be hiring you directly from the Relevel platform. Okay. There are 1,000 plus open job positions across three sector right now, three portfolio: business development, front end development, and back end development. Okay, and the good thing is this platform is completely online, so you're not supposed to be physically present anywhere, and you can take this test from the comfort of your home. Okay, and the best part is that you can take this test for completely free. Okay, so right now there are no charges involved in this. So this is for completely free. You can take this test, but the only thing you have to remember this, as I said, there are multiple rounds involved. You have to finish your entire test in a single day of your choice. Okay, so you have to finish the entire test in a single day, and then the score, the marking will be done within a week's time. So once you're given the test, you will get the report card within a week's time. Okay, and once you clear the test with the qualifying score, guys, you will be able to create an amazing candidate profile which will actually help you stand out from the crowd. Okay, so and something that stands out, that always gets noticed by the companies, right? And to get the Relevel profile, actually, you have to score at least more than 700 marks, and there is a total of 1,000 marks. So expectation is to have 70%. That's the qualifying criteria. Okay, and higher the better, definitely. So, but again, the minimum is 70%, 700 out of 1,000. That's what you have to score. And also the good thing is the candidate can take this assessment n number of times. Okay, so and but again, the thing is, once you have taken the test, you can take a retest only after 30 days. Okay, so there is a time gap of 30 days, so you cannot take a retest within 30 days of time. So that's the only thing which you take care of. So, and again, there are certain good rewards like associated with this. So goodies like MacBook, iPhone, and many such exciting prizes will be given to people who are the best scorers for a particular category of that month. So highest scorers will be awarded accordingly again. And so basically with the Relevel, guys, you're in a unique position to invite interest from the companies instead of you hunting for them. Okay, so once you have given the test, you have to just sit back and relax, and the companies will reach out to you based on your score. So that's the benefit of this platform. Okay, and also the registration on this platform is also quite easy. Okay, so you have to just use this website relevel.com, and once you have signed up to the platform, you have to just select the test of your choice. So basically there are three options right now: business development, front-end development, and back-end development. I have told you that. So, and there are multiple roles associated within. So like sales associate, relationship manager, customer engagement associate for business development, and likewise Angular developer, web developer, front-end engineer for front-end development side, data engineer, software engineer for the back-end. So accordingly, based on your designations, right? So you can choose the test of your choice, whatever you prefer, whatever your interest areas are, and accordingly you can be part of that, and you can choose that. And then once you have selected the test of your choice, the next is like you have to select the date. So on the date which you want to give the test on, so again the slots are limited, so I would suggest you to book it fast since it's a beta platform, right? And there are no charges involved, so I mean there is no loss for you anyway, right? So you can always try it once, and maybe depending on the results and the kind of feedbacks you have, so you can use it further in your career. But again, definitely for now, at least giving it a try once is definitely a worth. You're not losing out on anything. It's anyway free, right? So once you have selected the test of your choice, right, test date, the next thing is like you have to submit your video resume. So you'll be asked to create a neat video resume, guys. So this video resume is again where you are talking about yourself in 30 seconds to 3 minutes of a video. Okay, and it's more towards about your accomplishments, and again, since it's a video resume, so you have to, that's a basic requirement, so you have to be mentally present, you have to be physically groomed, right, and good light, good ambient. So that's a basic requirement, you can understand that, right? But again, talk about your accomplishments, whatever you have done so far, the good things about you, why the company should hire you and all that. So once you have done the recording, just submit that, and then that's it. You have to just wait for your D-Day, and then be mentally prepared for the test. That's it. So guys, I always recommend do register for the Relevel today itself. As I said, you're not losing out or anything. It's just so I mean, it's just one of the odd things which you can try in your life. But again, if you feel that you're getting benefited, you can use it later as well. But at least for now, you're not losing out on anything, right? So definitely it's worth trying. And as always, this is a official Telegram channel, guys. So do feel free to join this. So there's a one place stop for you for all of your queries related to your upcoming classes, schedules, and all that. So it'll always help you to understand things. So you'll not be running. You'll be asked to run here and there for things. So it's a one place stop for everything. Yeah, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, guys. So that's the least we can ask. So if you feel that you're getting benefited, do feel free to motivate us as well, right? So do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Great. So with this, we are into our content slide. So we are going to talk about a NumPy, right? So we have been talking about pandas quite a lot. Again, we have few things left over in pandas. We'll talk about that, right? But again, right now we'll be more focused towards my NumPy. Anybody has any questions, so we can take few before jumping to the content. Meanwhile, we'll take this question from Darshan. So he says Capgemini, right? So Capgemini, not decided. I'm a fresher. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, they both are equally good companies, right? So I cannot promote any other company during the live call. But again, I think they both are equally good companies. I mean, nothing an issue here. So, I mean, it depends on your profile and your location, other things. If you talk specifically about companies, so both the companies are equally good. So they are again more of service-based organizations, right? So both the companies are good. So both of the companies, there's no issue in the company as such. But again, look towards the other aspects now. So like maybe your salary component, your work location, your role, your designation, your other things, right? So company-wise, they both are equally good. Okay. Cool. Anybody else has any question before we jump to the content? Right. So as I said, so we had few questions left on pandas as well. So, but again, we'll take it likewise. So I will not waste much time there. But again, since we have, let's start with some other topic, NumPy. So meanwhile, once we do some practice questions, right? So we can incorporate some other questions from pandas as well. We can do that. Cool. So let's jump to our content, NumPy. Do let me know if my content screen is visible to you guys. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible to you, right? Cool. So let's talk about my NumPy. So what exactly NumPy does, okay? And what is NumPy? What is the difference between NumPy and other packages? The basic things, okay? So first of all, let's try to understand what is NumPy. NumPy is again one of the other odd package available in Python for my data science work, okay? So likewise, we have pandas, right? So pandas was nothing but a library which had a lot of functionalities available within. So we have been discussing about a lot of functions. Like basically, I would say pandas is more of a wrapper class where I have a lot of functions available within, right? So likewise, NumPy is also a wrapper class. Wrapper class, by that I mean it's like you can consider as an outer boundary. An outer boundary has multiple smaller objects. So these smaller objects are like the functions which you can use for your day-to-day data computational purposes, right? So likewise, NumPy is again a package which has certain good functionalities available within, which are useful for your data analysis work, okay? NumPy is purely towards your numerical concepts. So pandas has a lot of other functions available, like it was working towards your series. It was also working on data frames, a lot of other functionalities available as well. But NumPy is purely focused on the numerical concepts of Python, okay? And it also stands for numerical Python, or NumPy or numerical Python, okay? That's what it stands for. So basically here I have the collection of functions for array processing. Okay, so I have only single data type, or I would say a single, yeah, in that sense, I would say single Python data type on which NumPy is working. So as in pandas, I have 2-3 data types on which the data frame can work, but in NumPy, all the processing are performed only on top of arrays. Okay, so array is another data type which is available under Python, and NumPy is purely focused on array processing. Okay, the reason why it is important to know, the reason why it is one of the very good packages available in data science is because it is computationally comparatively very fast. Because if you do any computation on a numerical computation on arrays, it's always faster compared to any other data type. Okay, so array computations are always fast. And when you talk about your, as I've always said, right? So no code is wrong. Okay, even if you don't use array computation for your mathematical aggregation and all that, it's fine. It's okay. It's not mandatory to use arrays. Okay, but again, the only way where we judge or where we identify the codes are the kind of its optimization process, right? So the kind of optimization technique it requires. So if you're running a particular code in a production environment where you're supposed to run the entire thing in say 30 seconds or say 1 minute of time. So in that sense, time optimization or the efficiency of the code is required. It's important, right? So that's where you can try to optimize your code. So array does provide you a lot of good functionalities available within for your numerical computations. Okay, so that is the reason why it is important. So now the good thing to understand is, or the important thing to understand is, what is an array? Okay, so array in fact is another data type. The important difference between array and any other data type is array can only hold a single data type. So by that single data type, I mean that it can still have a string within. So array can have strings, but only strings. So it cannot have string and integers both at the same time. It can, but computationally, when I talk about the numerical computations, we are talking about the numbers. But technically, this is one again a very important question asked in the interviews, like, you know, can arrays have strings? Yes, arrays can have strings, but again, only strings. It cannot have both strings and integers at the same time. Right, so that's one of the things. And again, arrays are also represented using the curly using the square brackets like we have in lists. Okay, so generally most frequently asked question again is, what is the difference between array and a list? Okay, so technically they both are again single data types. So they both are again available data types in Python, and they both are also represented using the square brackets. Okay, but the list, the important thing of list is list can have multiple data types within. So you have seen that, right? So list can hold a string, an integer, a float value, a complex number, or maybe a list within, right? Or a dictionary also as an element, right? So list can have any data type within. So list is a heterogenic data type. But again, array on the other hand is my homogenic data type, which can hold only a single data type. Okay, preferably numbers, but again, it can also have strings. Okay, that's the basic difference between array and list, right? So again, just a basic quick thing. So how you want to install NumPy, the basic thing. So if you want to install it using the Jupyter notebook, you can still do that. So you have to just add exclamation mark at the beginning. So like exclamation mark pip install NumPy. Pip is again the installer which you generally use. You can use it through other installers as well. Like if you're using Conda and all, so you can do that. So there should not be any issue. But again, preferably is pip. And you can still do it using I would say your command line prompt. So you can use using the command prompt as well. So cmd on that you can run the pip install numpy using your command prompt as well. Okay, to check the version, guys. So whenever I use this, right? So you're seeing this. I'm importing this numpy as an alias np. So very simple. So you know what the alias. So in the pandas, we were importing as PD, right? So I mean, technically, again, you can still use like say mpy or n or whatever you want, right? So technically, most preferred importing is np. So that's what we use. And the version check is like this: np dot underscore underscore version, the underscore underscore. So that's what we use. And once we check this, so right now the current version on which I am running the numpy is 1.19.5. Okay, this is the current version. But again, to check what all versions are available within numpy, you can see this using this website. So what you have to do is you have to just go through this website and you have to check NumPy on my list. So you have to type NumPy and PyPy. So PyPI, that's the official website of the packages, Python installers basically. So once you go there, right? So once you have run this, you can see the first website, pypy.org, NumPy. You can see this here, right? So open it in the new tab. So you'll be able to find out my the latest version of my available NumPy. You can see it like here. So 1.2, 1.2. That's my basic. That's my available NumPy right now version. So I'm running on the lower version right now. It's fine because, as I said, so compatibility issues are there. Depending on that, we can check it. Cool. So that's about the basic intro, how you can start working on NumPy. But again, the good things are important to know some of the important concepts from NumPy. Okay, these three are some really important concepts, guys. So what in NumPy an ND array is, okay? Likewise, what is a D type? And then what is an array scalar? Okay, so these three are very important key terminologies available within my NumPy. Good to know, okay? So first is ND array. So the collection of object, right? So the collection of object which is holding my array data type. So n-dimensional array, okay? So and when I say n-dimensional array, it can still hold my 1D data or 2D data, or so whatever way we want to add it, whatever dimension I want to add for my array. So the collection of my objects, the collection of my similar data types, items, right? So that is where my ND array comes, okay? So that's my first concept. The second is D type. Okay, so D type is again the kind of so I mean every item in an ND array, so every block in an ND array has some memory size, right? And internally this data type is called, I mean, this is called as D type. So every ND array object has been allocated some memory, some data type, right? And that is what internally is called as D type. An array scalar, so once you slice out this object, so slice out a single object element from my data, that's what is called as an array scalar. So I've taken a reference for a diagram. So let me show it to you like this. So you have on the screen, you can see this. So the entire collection of my elements here on the bottom, you can see that. So this is where my ND array is. So you have multiple blocks here, right? So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, like n blocks available. And that's why I'm calling it as an ND array. So it's an example. It can still have 2D or 3D arrays, but I'm talking about first like n dimensional array. So all the collection of my objects, this entire collection is called as an ND array, okay? So all the elements, all the collection elements within an enclosed boundary is called as an ND array for me, okay? And in this, every single object, so every single object, like for example this header, or header means the first object, or likewise we have another objects also within, right? So every object is internally a data type. So it's like a data type element, okay? And in each of these has been allocated individual memory space, right? So memory by mean that a located space where you can have this data stored, right? So individual blocks will be termed as data type, so as a data type of element. And once you slice out this, so once you take a particular element of my array out, so this is not part of my ND array anymore. So then it is called as an array scalar. Okay, this is not part of my data anymore. Okay, so that's the three concepts for you guys. Any questions, do feel free to ask me in the chat. These three concepts are very important to start coding on NumPy. So NumPy, again, as I said, is purely based on arrays. And in arrays, we will always be talking about these three terms, okay? ND array, D type, and array scalar. Okay, these three are very important concepts of NumPy, so you have to be very sure of what these three are. But again, if you have any questions, do feel free to ask me. So I hope I've made myself very clear. ND array is a collection of my similar item types, that is called as an ND array. Data type is like single entity of every individual single entity of my ND array is a data type element. So data type element. The third is if you take out a particular element out of my ND array, so it's not part of my ND array anymore, you have sliced out, that is an array scalar. Okay, so that's three concepts for you. Cool. So that's the basic intro of my ND array. Now how I'm gonna initialize an array. Okay, so NumPy, as I've told you, so NumPy I'm gonna use using the alias np, right? So np is my alias name. So and I'm calling an array object. So np dot array as my educator and np dot array as my initiator for me. Okay, and this array has certain arguments to be taken. Okay, so argument, as you can see here, I have 5 individual arguments which can be part of, and you can see this for any function. So whenever I'm writing nd.array, right? So if you just do a shift tab, so you can see this, once you do inside the parenthesis, a shift tab, you can see a documentation opening in the background, right? So, and with this small plus, you can see the details here. So it can take what? Object, D type, copy, order, subawk, sub-ok, and endim. So sub-ok or subawk, whatever you're going to call that, and endim. Okay. So these are my arguments, right? So we have to first understand basically how exactly these things are working. Okay. So now let's check what are these individual arguments. Okay. Anybody has any question? Please, guys, put up in the chat. We'll discuss. Abhi Sharma says, "Are you now working as a full-time educator?" No, yaar, I'm not working as a full-time educator. I still do it out of my interest. Okay. Cool. So right, so as I was talking about in this array, so this is my only single command in array by which I'm gonna initialize my array object. Okay, so now as I've said, so there are 5-6 arguments which can be part of this, and very important to know these arguments, right? So because this is one of the very strong commands, np.array. So you're initializing an object as an array, right? So that's what you're doing. So let's understand what are these individual arguments. Okay. So object by default is like, it's basically means the array type object. So whatever object you want to give to this array function to be initialized as an array, to be called as an array, like the element lists, the element values which you want to call, right? So that's what going to be given in form of my object. So like for example, we were doing in pandas, right? So the first function used to be like data. So the first argument, data, index and all that for the series, you remember, right? It's more of that part. So data is replaced by object here. So data, when you're passing in the series, like a collection of elements which you want to be considered as a series element, right? So like the similar way we have object here. So all the collection of elements which you want to be considered or initialized as an array will be taken as my object here. So that's object for you. Okay. So D type, again, the data type of my object. So data type, basically what can be data type? Your int, your string, your float. Again, int, you have multiple memory type of int. So like small int, big int, like you show in SQL, right? So like this, we have here int 8, int 16, int 32, int 64. So basically these are my memory memory allocation to each int object. So smaller will be given int 8, higher numbers will be given int 64. So basically it can have certain ranges of data which it can hold, right? So accordingly you have to provide your D type here. So D type, I mean, in fact, NumPy does offer a lot of variation, a lot of variety in your data type, okay? Specifically in your numerical concepts. We'll be talking about data types available in NumPy, but it does help you, does offer you a lot of variations, okay? So D type is what? So data type of an object. So object, again, which you're going to pass to be considered as my basically towards your array object. Copy, basically you're creating a copy of the similar array, not required. So order is very important here. So order, we have three types of order, okay? C, F and K, okay? So F is by default Fortran format, if you know that. So Fortran format is by default is a column major, okay? C, unfortunately, C stands for column, but again, just remember it's a vice versa. It's an opposite one. So for C, whenever you're using the order as C, so it means that you're using the row major. So the data will be filled first row wise, then column wise. Okay, so that's how I'll show you the illustrative picture also. So order, C is for my row major, F is for my column major, and K is the default format. So any format is fine. Okay. And sub OK means that you're actually passing the subclasses to be true. So basically, if you're passing any additional different data type like a matrix on top of an array, and you're passing sub OK as true, that means that you're saying that you have to recognize this as a matrix internally rather than an array. Overall, it is an array, but internally it will be a matrix. So basically, you're saying to the code as that you have to identify the subclasses of my data as well. Okay, so that's what sub OK means. Okay. And dim, again, the dimension of my resultant array. So if you want to specify that the resultant array should have, say, 2 cross 3 or 3 cross 3 or 2 or 3, whatever dimension. So your dimension of my resultant array. So that's what ndim means. Okay. So okay, just a few illustration for you again. So as I was talking about the row major and column major, I think I same picture, right? Cool. So I have this illustration. I just took an internet reference again for this. So you can see this row major and column major. When I was talking about this order, right? C and F, right? So this row major and column major is what I mean. So you can see this row major means the data will be going first from left to right. Okay. So first, your first entire row will be filled. Then the second row will be filled, then the third row will be filled. So the priority will be given to my rows first in my row major when you give order as C. Okay. And then the second is my F, which is my column major, right? So for this, the majority, the priority will be given to my columns first. So my first column will be filled, then the second column, then the third column. Anybody has any question in this? Guys, I'm giving you again 15 seconds of time to digest this. Anybody has any question? Darshan, Samrat, Bakkapa, Abhi. Guys, any questions, or whosoever is part of the chat? Am I making sense? See, because it's more of a theoretical concept, right? So we are learning few of the theoretical concepts of NumPy before jumping into the exercises. So yeah, you have to bear with me as well, because I understand lectures or maybe the theoretical concepts does becomes a little tedious to understand point of time. I understand that, okay? Even I don't like much of theoretical concepts. But again, I cannot jump into the exercises before giving you the concepts, right? When I'm start using order or sub, okay, you will not even understand what does it mean, right? At that time, you'll start asking me questions. So it's always important to first understand few of the concepts before jumping into the exercises directly. Making sense, right? So please, again, I'm repeating this. If you have any questions, anything, it's always important, because see, I always this C and F concept, trust me, is very important, because many a times you want to specify in which order you want to put the data in. It's very important for the data analysis part, right? So always need to understand what is row major, column major, sub, okay. So these are very important concepts, okay? And is the ND array, this np.array is one of the very strong functions available in NumPy, right? Very strong function. So guys, again, I'm still giving you your sweet time. Please do ask me questions. So try to make this class interactive. Without interaction, you will not understand this. Okay. Okay, Omkar says, sir, हमारे इसके कितने lecture हुए हैं? When you say specifically for NumPy, then we have started today itself. If we're talking about whole Python lectures, Omkar, then we have started 1.5 months back. So we did functions, we did lambda functions, we did something on pandas, a lot of things on pandas. So we have finished pandas. So yeah, so you have your playlist link available in the YouTube video description itself. So you can check my name, Arpit Jain. So I have a playlist there. So I think you'll be having 40-50 odd videos. So you can just go through them. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, you can always ask me that. Cool. So that's about my few things. So let's take some examples, right? So let's try to understand how exactly these arrays would look like. Okay. So now here I'm creating my first array. So you're seeing this function here, np.array. So array has how many arguments? It has 6 arguments which it can take. Yeah, you know that. So how can I see this? Shift and tab inside my parenthesis. So see here, I'm not specifying any argument ka naam here, right? I'm just giving the data. So technically, you know that. So whenever I'm using without the name of my argument wala format, that means that I'm referring to the orders of my argument, right? So if I'm giving only single element here, that means that this refers to what? Object by default, okay? And suppose if I use this, say, comma this, and I use right int, that means that this refers to my object, and this refers, the second thing refers to my d type, because d type is my second argument available within my array function, right? You can see this. So if I'm not giving any specific name of my argument, then the order matters. You've already seen this in pandas also. But if you're giving the name of the argument directly, that means that suppose you're writing like this. So say d type is equal to int and object equal to 1, 2, 3. This is still fine, because what you're doing here is you're specifying the name of your argument. So here in that case, order does not really matter. But if you're not specifying the object name, the argument name, then order is very important. Okay, let's see this. So now I have run this, right? So I've created an array. Okay, and here I'm using the 3 elements 1, 2, 3, and it has created an array element of 1, 2, 3. Can you see one good thing here? Have you just noticed? So these commas are removed now. There is no comma in this array. Can you see this? So this is how my array notation is. And have you noticed? So even this list of my elements 1, 2, 3 is also given in a square bracket, right? But there is a comma involved separating my individual elements. But here in the array, when I'm printing A, which is my array object, you have these 3 elements 1, 2, 3, right? But can you see this? Your commas are gone, but still have these 3 elements. Okay. And now in this time, they are separated by a space. Okay. That's how my array looks like. That's how my an array element looks like. Any question, guys, in this? And is this point clear? So you can see this, both of these are under square brackets only, but the second one, the array is replaced by space instead of commas. So that's the difference between list and arrays. But again, that's not a technical difference, but you can just visually see this, right? So I'm creating a 1-dimension array. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just adding a single dimension of data. So which is my 1, 2, 3. and it has 3 elements. So one dimension having 3 elements in that. Okay. So that's my 1D array for me. Okay. So now let's see a 2D array. So 2D array, more than one dimension. Basically, I'm seeing that inside this, I'm passing a list of 2 lists. Okay. So basically, I want a 2D array to be here. And I have 2 different element sets. I have 1 and 2, and then I have 3 and 4. Okay. And both of these are my individual elements, which is again passed under a second list. You can see this. Can anybody tell me what will be the output here? Quickly. Guys, you have 30 seconds. Just quickly type in the chat. What do you think the output will be? How the array would look like here? Again, this concept is very important. If you're not able to visualize your array, writing the codes on array will become trickier. Okay. NumPy concepts are easy, but internally it's trickier to implement. Okay. So quickly guys, take 30 seconds and type in the chat. What do you think the A would look like here if I make a 2D array out of this? Omkar, Abhi, Darshan. There guys. Okay, so I think let me just print this for you. See, this is how it will look. So now it has 2 elements. It's a 2D array. Okay, so if we just see the shape also, the shape command will come later. But this is how the visually will look like. So you have 2 elements here, 1 and 2 as my first element of my list. Okay, this is what you have, 1 and 2. Again, it's an array format. Your commas will go, spaces will come, right? And again, I have my second element, which is 3 and 4. And this is what you have here. And again, the commas are gone. So you have spaces here. So that's what the notation of an array is. And it's a 2-dimensional array. So I have 2D array. So I have 2 different object elements, and within this I have individual elements as well. Okay, so these are 2 different object elements, 1 and 2 under single one dimension, and 3 and 4 under another dimension. Cool guys, any questions here? ठीक है, अब सेम चीज आप कैसे कर सकते हो? अब हमारे पास क्या क्या आर्ग्यूमेंट्स अवेलेबल है? हमारे पास एक endim भी अवेलेबल था, राइट? सो वी हैड endim अवेलेबल. सो endim बेसिकली आई एम स्पेसिफाइंग हाउ मेनी डायमेंशंस I should have in my data, right? हमने बताया था. So hey, hi Chirag, good afternoon. Thank you for joining in. Cool. So endim के लिए मैंने क्या बोला था? Endim I have said, right? So I can specify the dimension of my output array as well. Okay. So now I have given a scalar object. So I have given a 1D data, right? So I have given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm specifying that the output should have 2 dimensions now. Okay. So basically I'm saying that although here like this, if I just simply run it like this, right? So how do you think the output would be? So just remove it once and let's see. You can see this, everything is coming under a single header. So basically a 1 dimension data, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But now if I add this endim as equal to 2, that means I'm specifying that the output array should have a dimension of 2. It's a 2-dimension data, 2D data, right? So in this case, can you see the same thing has been enclosed under 2 different square brackets? That means that it is now part of 2 different, it's a 2D data for me. So it has 2 dimensions now. Is this point clear? And in fact, I can have 3 here. I can have 3 also. That is also fine. So now I can just enclose it under 3 different square brackets. It's a 3D data for me. Is this point clear, guys? Okay. So that's how I'm going to use my endim. Okay. अब ठीक है, अभी हम डी टाइप देखते हैं. सेम चीज. इनफैक्ट endim के साथ हम एक और चीज ऐड करते हैं. सपोज मेरे को यही चीज देखना है while adding the row major. So I have this, right? So I have my order C and F, right? So let's see this. So if I add order equal to say C. Okay, so technically it will not work because I do not have the 2-dimension data. So it'll work it here like this. So I have one example for you. Let me just show it to you. Where I have done it. Cool. So I'll just show it to you how exactly we can do it for different data types. Let the example come in that fashion. So, but anyway, let's proceed one by one. So right now you can see this in this endim itself. I can pass the number of dimension I want to have in my output dictionary, and that is how we can create the dictionary as well, right? So that should not be an issue anyway, right? And now we have a data type argument as well, right? So data type again. So you can see this. I have 1, 2, and 3. So I can specify what I can specify int also here. So if I do an int here, you can see this, all of my elements is basically of 1, 2, and 3 here, right? So basically an int data type. So if I use float, so you can see this, my values are replaced by a dot. So all the values are has been converted into my float data type, accepting a decimal value as well. We can also add a complex also here. So if I add a complex, you can see this single terminologies has been converted into a complex data type. So 1 plus I plus j, you know that this format, right? So 2 plus j, 1 plus j, so whatever. So that's my complex data type. So I can specify the data type of my output array using this functionality d type as well. So you can add the functions here. So I can add the value here. Perfect roadmap for start coding. Okay, so when you say start coding, I mean you're talking about Python, right? So Python, yeah, we have covered the few basic things like for you, I would say it would be the data types. So first learn the data types of Python. So like the basic ones, list, dictionaries, there are a lot of series and all that. So that's the way you should be learning first. So basic things first पढ़ते हैं. सबसे पहले हम चिराग basic things पढ़ते हैं. And then we eventually start building on top of that. So few basic codes like functions आप पढ़ सकते हो उसके बाद, then functions के बाद advanced functions, and then you can start using some packages. So always my suggestion would be to start always focus on the concepts first before being completely relying on any function, right? If you think about the logic, so always try to code using the logic without being dependent on the function. So whatever examples we are doing it in our lectures, right? So we always try to solve it in both the ways, like the basic conceptual part, like looping के through करते हैं, for loop, if loop, while loop, so जो भी हमारे basic concepts हैं. उसके अलावा if you are okay with that, then try to solve it using the functions as well. So because functions are always easier, है ना? So functions, it's time saving because they are already built for you. But if the function does not exist, then what? So you'll have to create the function for you, right? So that's the whole objective. So perfect roadmap is basics से start करो from the data types, then read about your functions, your looping techniques, and then towards your libraries. Yeah, so I mean, and again, definitely libraries के बाद certain odd libraries के बाद you have and अगर आप specifically Python coding की बात करोगे, then you have other concepts like advanced concepts में आपका inheritance आ जाता है, you have polymorphism and all that. So, but again, that's more of an advanced topic. We'll be doing that anyway. But again, there has to be a perfect roadmap for that, right? So first starting करेंगे basic से थोड़ा intermediate, then advanced. ठीक है? Cool. So that's about my data type. So d type, another function. Again, very good functionality here is sub OK. So I've talked about this sub OK, right? So sub OK में क्या होता है? So here you can see this. So let me just show it to you. So now can you see this? I have this sub OK as false. So now inside of data, for the data part, I'm specifying a matrix. So matrix आपको तो पता है ना? So matrix is like more of a जहाँ पर आप 2D array में जहाँ पे आप solve करते हो, matrix format आपने कभी पहले पढ़ा होगा. So again, instead of having a data as a scalar object, I'm passing a matrix here. So basically, my data also has a subclass. So basically, my data is not scalar. My data is a matrix data, right? So in this matrix data, I have what? 1, 2, 3, and 4 given here. So if you see this sub OK as false, so basically, again, you'll get this as a array formatted data, right? So you can see this. I have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 given in 2 different dimensions. So this is my array type object, right? Similarly, once you run this while giving sub OK as true, let's see this. Can you see the difference? So now you are specifying the data to recognize this matrix data type as well. So that's why you're saying that sub OK is also true. So basically, your internal internal subclass of my data is also of importance. Okay, So I have now the data type is array here, but in this case, my data type is matrix because I have passed a data object as matrix. Is this point clear, guys? This is again a good concept, good to know. So basically sub okay to refer to infer to your internal data types as well. Okay. That's why sub okay or sub awk, whatever you say, it's used. Okay. And okay, now there are certain data types available in NumPy. So there are certain data types. So NumPy does offer you a great variety of data type compared to Python and towards your numerical part. So I've just created a data this table for you. So you can see this. You have an n number of list of data type available within your available list, right? So you have Boolean. Int may you have multiple varieties, int 8, int 16, 32, 64, and then you have something called as uint as well, unsigned integer. I'll be talking about that. So uint 8, 16, 32, 64, and then you have float 16, 32, 64. Then you have complex as well, okay? Complex 64 and complex 128. Cool. So there are n number of varieties of data, more varied numerical data types available within your NumPy compared to my standard Python data types for NumPy, for my numbers, for my numerical data, right? So now let's take each of these individually, right? So bool, basically Boolean hota hai, true and false, no hard and fast thing here. So I think you already know this. So bool is towards your Boolean data, true and false. The second is int. So int is default int. Okay, so default int. So you're not saying any specifying any particular memory. So it takes a default value. Okay. Int 8. So int 8 is the smallest possible memory of int you can allocate to the data. Okay, so इसमें आप range देख सकते हो. It can only accept the data from -128 to 127. If any value is above 127 or above -128, it will not accept an int 8. So int 8 में आपको error आ जाएगी वहाँ पे, है ना? Now the only reason I'm having so much variety of data points here like int 8, 16, 32, 64 is to have your memory optimization done. Okay, memory optimization again, guys. Suppose आपको example बताता हूँ. आपको डेटा स्टोर करना है. सपोज यू हैव टू स्टोर वन चॉकलेट इन योर फ्रिज. ओके, सो जस्ट फॉर एग्जांपल, उस सेम चॉकलेट को स्टोर करने के लिए आप चाहे तो एक बड़ा बॉक्स भी रख सकते हो, बट है वो इतना छोटा सा चॉकलेट, ठीक है, उसके लिए इतना बड़ा बॉक्स भी रख सकते हो. आपको मेमोरी ऑप्टिमाइजेशन में दिक्कत होगी ना, आपके फ्रिज के अंदर घुसेगा कैसे वो, राइट? सेकंड हो सकता है कि उसी स्मॉलर चॉकलेट को आप एक छोटे डिब्बे में रखो जहां पे उसका काम उसका सफिशिएंट है, इट हैज अ सफिशिएंट स्पेस फॉर दैट, यू कैन फिट इट इन दिस, यू कैन फिट इट इन योर फ्रिज, राइट? So that's why you have this memory allocation done. So अगर आपका smaller data है, if you know that the data cannot increase beyond 128 or minus 128 to 127, why to waste your memory? Why to just simply allocate a memory which is going to be which is not going to be utilized anytime, right? There's no point of doing that. So that is the reason why we have different memory allocation part of my int, likewise as float and complex as well. So that's why you have 8, 16, 32, and 64. Okay, you can see the ranges here. So for 8, I have from -128 to 127. 16 has this range, so 32,000 something to this. Then in 32, you can see the range of numbers is getting is increasing, right? And likewise, 64 is the highest data, which has this range to be utilized. It can store a very bigger number as well. Okay. So that's where you have to be very smart enough while choosing the data type for individual elements. So you have to recognize what kind of data you are dealing with, and accordingly you have to set the data type for that. Okay, so that's int 8, 16, 32, and 64 for you guys. Now you have something called as uint, unsigned integer. Okay, uint 8, 30, similarly 8, 16, 32, and 64. Anybody has any idea what is the difference between int and uint? Guys, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. If anybody has any idea on int and uint, quickly in the chat. Chirag, Omkar, Abhi, Darshan. Any idea, guys, what is the difference between? Okay, so Chirag, no problem, it's fine. Bhargav, thank you so much for answering that. Anybody has any other response? Right. Thank you so much, Bhargav, for specifying. Great. So that's the difference between int and uint, guys. So uint is basically an unsigned integer. आपको यहाँ पे दिख भी रहा होगा. मैंने यहाँ पे क्या range लिया है? 0 to 255. So basically the thing is, int can accept the data, both the positive and the negative integers. But uint can only have the positive values or the whole numbers starting from 0. No negative. Negative numbers are not allowed in uint. That's an unsigned integer. क्लियर चिराग, कोई इशू है इसमें? मैंने यहाँ पर रेंजेस भी मेंशन किए हुए हैं, है ना? So you can see this for int 8 I have -128 to 127, so basically 255 characters, 255 bytes of information, right? Similarly यहाँ पे सेम चीज होगा. आप instead of going 128 below 0, you are adding 128 and form of my bytes on the positive side. So you have the range from 0 to 255 instead of 0 to 127, right? So that's how my int and uint behaves. Okay, so likewise you'll be able to see the changes in my range also. So it has 32,700 something, right? So you can add these two whole numbers absolute. So this is gonna be your range. Okay, starting from 0. So that's how my int and uint differs. So uint is more of an unsigned integer, so always takes the whole numbers or the positive values. Int can accept both the negative and the positive values. ठीक है? And आपको पता ही है 8, 16, 32, 64 मतलब basically different ranges of data हैं. I mean, depending on your size, depending on your breadth of your number, you can choose the data type for you. So it gives you so much of flexibility as NumPy. ठीक है? Float में we have 16, 32 and 64. So you have these again. So again a float data type. First of all, float होता क्या है? Float आपका decimal value होता है. Decimal में आपके पास decimal के पहले भी कुछ होता है जिसको हम exponent कहते हैं, और decimal के बाद भी कुछ होता है जिसको हम mantissa कहते हैं, right? So that's how if I think if I'm correct, right? So exponent and mantissa values आपके. So float again आपके वो you can take the decimal values of my data. You have the ranges here, so you can expect 5 bits of exponent and 10 bits of mantissa, right? So likewise you have 32 and 64. So I mean, depending on your memory which you want to utilize, so depending on your number, so depending on your data basically, so you have to be very sure कि आप क्या data use करने वाले हो and what memory you exactly need for your computation purpose. So then only going to be defining that. So I have float 16, 32 and 64. Likewise we have complex again we have 32, 64 and 128. So 32, 64 basically आपको 32 bits float होता है, 128 64 bits float होता है. ठीक है? So that's the different variety of data you can get from your NumPy data type. Okay, so that's what you can use. ठीक है, cool. So again इसमें हम मल्टीपल चीजें यूज कर सकते हैं. सबसे पहले मेरे पास NumPy के अंदर एक D टाइप भी फंक्शन होता है. आपको पता है D टाइप, मैंने आपको बताया था स्टार्टिंग में, D टाइप, ND अरे, ये सब इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट्स है, राइट? So similarly D type हमारे पास मैं specify भी कर सकता हूँ. So I'm just creating an object which is, so let's see what is DP is. You can see this. I'm just saying that this DT is nothing but a scalar object of int64 data type. Okay. You can see this. I'm using DT as my NP int64 as my data, as my scalar object. It's just nothing but my D type of my data. Okay. So now whenever I'm going to use int64, instead of passing this, I'm going to pass DT. That is the only reason why I've created this. Okay. So this is my one for my scalar object. So likewise, I can have it for the structured data as well. So for example, I can specify that this age data has to be given of int of 8. Okay. So I can also have this. So now you can see this. This is my structured data. Now it has what? You can see this. This DT object has been converted into a collection object, basically a tuple object, in which you have age, which is my my first key. So this age column has to be given I1. So I1 is the shorter notation of int 8. So likewise you have I2, I3 and I4. I2 for int 16, I3 for int 32 and I4 for int 64. ठीक है? इससे कंफ्यूज नहीं होना. I1 is for int 8. Okay, so smaller notation of int 8. So इसमें मैंने क्या करा, स्ट्रक्चर डेटा पे बना दिया. बेसिकली अब मैंने DT को क्या बोला कि मेरे पास अगर डेटा इस फैशन में रहेगा तो आई एम पासिंग दैट फर्स्ट शुड बी योर एज एंड सेकंड हैज टू बी द वैल्यू ऑफ माय एज व्हिच इज int 8. इसका डेटा टाइप होगा. ठीक है, अभी मैं इसको इस पे पास करता हूँ. लेट्स सी दिस. लेट्स लुक एट दिस फर्स्ट. ओके, सो अभी मैंने क्या करा है, मैंने इसको एक डेटा पे कॉल किया है. ठीक है, अभी मैंने यहाँ पे एग्जांपल क्रिएट किया आपके लिए. लेट्स लुक एट दिस फर्स्ट. सो अभी मैंने क्या करा, सेम डेटा टाइप को मैंने यहाँ पे कॉल किया, सो मैंने यहाँ पे एक dt करके एक डेटा टाइप फंक्शन बनाया जिसमें आई हैव व्हाट एज एंड numpy int 8 ऑब्जेक्ट डेटा टाइप. सो नाउ आई एम क्रिएटिंग एन मल्टी डिमेंशनल nd array object. Okay, now inside this I am passing what, these three elements 10, 20 and 30. ठीक है, now look at this a first. So now can you see this? Each of these elements are now been given what? dt ka data type. So you have two things here, age and np int 8, right? So basically you have age this, and you have age 20 and you have age 30, and all of this has been given a data type of int 8. Okay, and you can in fact also print the age here. So if you do just print age, you can see this, all of your individual element, which is 10, 20 and 30. So it is quite indexable. इस पॉइंट में किसी को भी डाउट है? Again, I'm going to print both of these things. So look at this. So look at the differences, guys. So you have this, you have created a data frame 10, 20 and 30. And in this, I have what? Age. First element is age, right? And I have 20 and I have 30. There's nothing after comma. The reason is it's just a data type of np int 8. So basically, I'm specifying this age to be of int 8 data type. So that is the reason why this after comma is there's nothing there. And now once you're gonna index of age, so basically I'm also have given internally that this value has to be called as what? Age, right? So I've given this in my d type, right? If I change this to say number, right? So now let's see this. It'll give you an error because now this value there's no relevance to age. Now this has been changed to number. If I do this, now I'll get the values here 10, 20 and 30. कोई इश्यू है इसमें किसी को भी? Anybody has any issue in this? numpy arrays थोड़ा सा tricky है guys. You have to stay attentive to understand this. But again, किसी को कोई भी doubt हो, please do ask me in the chat. ठीक है, अब सेम चीज हम मल्टी डिमेंशन पे काम करते हैं. चलो इसके बाद हम यहाँ इसके बाद हम स्टॉप कर देंगे आज के लिए. But let's look at this मल्टी डिमेंशन डेटा. ठीक है, अब मैंने क्या करा, सेम डेटा टाइप में आपको देखा होगा मैंने एक सिंगल एलिमेंट पास किया था, राइट? मैंने एक सिंगल एलिमेंट, इस सिंगल 1D अरे के अंदर मैंने सिंगल एलिमेंट पास किया था, नंबर को मैंने np.int8 का डेटा टाइप दिया. ठीक है, अब ना इसके अंदर मैं क्या पास कर रहा हूं, मैं इसको पास कर रहा हूं तीन चीज. मैं इसको 3 एलिमेंट्स पास कर रहा हूं. नेम पास कर रहा हूं विच इज माई स्ट्रिंग ऑफ 20 ऑफ कैरेक्टर्स, एंड एज पास कर रहा हूं i8 है मेरा बेसिकली. मार्क्स पास कर रहा हूं फ्लोट 16. लुक एट दिस. नाउ दिस इज माई डेटा टाइप, है ना? दिस इज माई डेटा टाइप ऑफ माई एलिमेंट्स, राइट? अब मैं इसी सेम डेटा टाइप को एक स्टूडेंट डेटा फ्रेम पे पास कर रहा हूं जहां पे मेरे पास 3 डिफरेंट डेटा है. मेरे में क्या क्या बोला? नेम है, एज है और मार्क्स है, राइट? 3 डिफरेंट डेटा टाइप्स है मेरे पास. नेम है, एज है और मार्क्स है. नाउ लुक एट दिस. किसी को कोई भी डाउट हो रहा है इसमें? You can see this. Now this individual character, which is my first element of my ND array, has been given as string data type of 20 characters. Then I have 21, which is given as i8, basically integer of i8. मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा exactly क्या होता है. I think int 8 ही होता है. So you have this here. 21 is my int character, and then this marks, which is my third value, which is my 50, has been converted into the float value. ठीक है? So and then in D type में you have passed student. So student basically क्या है? Student का डेटा टाइप आपने यहाँ पे एक्सटर्नली क्रिएट किया हुआ है. कोई इशू है इसमें मल्टी डायमेंशन, सिंगल डायमेंशन डेटा टाइप चेंज करने में? बेस्ट लैपटॉप, ओके, बेस्ट लैपटॉप तो नहीं बोल सकता है, बट आपको बेस्ट कॉन्फ़िगरेशन बोल सकता हूँ. मिनिमम i16 ढूंढो. i16 बोल रहा हूँ. रैम 16 GB होना चाहिए आपके पास. रैम 16 GB मिनिमम होना चाहिए. दैट इज गुड फॉर कोडिंग, बिकॉज 8 GB में क्या होता है कि इट स्टार्ट लैगिंग आफ्टर सम पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. 16 GB रैम एक हमेशा ढूंढना. और एक एडवाइस दूंगा हमेशा, इफ यू हैव द सफिशिएंट बजट, look for the professional laptops. There are 2 series of laptop, okay? Personal series laptop or professional series laptop. Suppose Lenovo का Plethora for example. So Lenovo का personal PC laptops अलग होता है, personal series अलग होता है, professional series अलग होता है. अगर आप professional series के laptop लोगे, that is more reliable and is good for official purpose, है ना? So I would recommend that. किसी भी ब्रांड तो आपके ऊपर है, वो बजट पे भी डिपेंड करता है, बट कॉन्फ़िगरेशन में रैम 16 एक मेरे हिसाब से बेटर है. लेटेस्ट i7 प्रोसेसर भी ले सकते हो, कोई इशू नहीं है. एंड मेमोरी का ऐसे कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं होता है, SSD भी चलेगा, SSD भी चलेगा, SSD फास्ट होता है, SSD भी थोड़ा स्लो होता है, बट मिनिमम 500 GB ढूंढ सकते हो आपके पास सिस्टम पे, और एज ए सेड प्रोफेशनल सीरीज लोगे तो ज़्यादा बेटर है। ठीक है गाइज, एनी क्वेश्चन इन सिंगल डायमेंशन, मल्टी डायमेंशन, डेटा टाइप में हमने ये थोड़ा सा इंटरेस्टिंग चीजें करी हमने यहाँ पे। पहले यहाँ पे एक सिंगल एलिमेंट पास किया था नंबर, एंड उसको हमने यहाँ पे पास किया तो वो एक सिंगल एंटिटी को कॉमर्स कॉमर्स करके प्लेस किया उसने। बट यहाँ पर हमने 3 डिफरेंट एलिमेंट्स को पास किया, नेम, एज एंड मार्क्स, और यहाँ पे डेटा पे हमने पास किया नेम, एज एंड मार्क्स, है ना। तो आपको इंडिविजुअली हमने इसको डेटा टाइप असाइन कर दिया, हमने एक नहीं बोला, हमने इसको इंडिविजुअल डेटा टाइप असाइन कर दिया। ठीक है, cool guys, I hope this was clear for you. Okay, with this we're gonna wrap up for today. So now the next we're gonna talk about certain array attributes. Okay, so array के ऊपर हम बहुत सारी चीजें कर सकते हैं, like there are certain good attributes like empty, zeros, ones, as array, from iter, है ना. So let's discuss about that tomorrow in tomorrow's lecture. But again, if you guys have any question so far regarding NumPy, initialization of NumPy array, your functions available, your arguments available within your array, so do feel free to ask your questions so we can take that. Or if not, then we are good for today, guys. So we can meet tomorrow. So tomorrow we're gonna see each other at the same time, 2 p.m. So there was a network issue today, so there was some technical issue, so we got a bit delayed. But tomorrow we're gonna start on time, so 2 p.m. sharp. So that's what we will be starting, right? So if there is no question, we can wrap up for the day. Schedule, Chirag, is more towards 2 p.m. So as I said, so every day we are going live at 2 p.m. So 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. that's a schedule. So we try to finish things based on the schedule. But again, we got a bit delayed today. So so that's the schedule. So basically every day you can expect me to be live at 2 p.m. Right? Cool. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. And I wish you all the best and stay safe. Let's see each other tomorrow at same time, 2 p.m. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.